Is that a flying shark? Oh my god. This is Sharknado, the game. NovaStorm is a cool looking PlayStation game. Well, maybe not cool, but it's definitely a unique looking PlayStation game. For one thing, the game's cutscenes are full motion video. They're not like CGI cutscenes, or at least most of the cutscenes. Like in most PlayStation 1 games, it's like a video of an actual guy talking with some CGI in the background. That's awesome. But, CGIs in a shooter like this, a scrolling on rails shooter, it's not that important. The gameplay is what's important. And the gameplay is really unique as well. Again, maybe cool or maybe unique or maybe both. I would say it's more unique. The gameplay is like you have your character that you move around, which looks like a normal game, but then the enemies that attack you in the background, they are more CGI enemies. Like half of the game, the background looks like a CGI cutscene, and then the character that you control looks like the normal part of the game. It's like the graphics of the background and the foreground don't mesh together, yet they do interact because you shoot things from the background. The enemies mostly come at you from the background. I can't even decide. Is it weird looking? Is it cool looking? Maybe a little bit of both. It's definitely unique looking for PS1. Typically, this type of game style would be prevalent on something like the 3DO, not the PS1. And I mean, this game came out for the 3DO as well, so I'm assuming it wasn't first made for the PlayStation 1, but then they decided they can port it to the PS1 as well. It kind of reminds me of the art style in the Fist of the North Star cartoon, where the foreground was just, cartoon, hand drawn, but then the background, a lot of the time, looked like it didn't fit. The background looked like actual video of like the sky, like they actually filmed the sky or like wind. And while they didn't mesh together well, it was very interesting looking. It's the same thing with this game, but it doesn't really make the gameplay interesting or unique. This kind of makes the gameplay bad. Aiming is pretty bad, and I think it's mostly because the background and foreground don't feel like they're part of the same game. It's hard to line up your shot with the enemy, and also the depth perception of the enemies is really weird. Like when the enemies first come at you on the screen, it feels like they're like an inch away from you, even if they're like several feet away from you. Like the enemies that are flying at you, it feels like they are already right on top of you. This makes it hard to aim at the enemies, especially at weak points when you're fighting bosses, but it also makes it really hard to avoid enemy projectiles because it's hard to gauge how far away you are from the enemy missile. So I found the best strategy in the game is just to fly in a circular pattern, not even actually consciously avoiding any specific enemy projectiles, but just constantly moving. As long as you move, you're gonna die a lot less. You also have to keep in mind that sometimes there are things in the environment, like actual obstacles, that you hit and can die from. I would say the best thing about this game is it has flying sharks. Flying sharks. This is Sharknado, the video game, created about 15 years before the movie Sharknado. It's a game that invented the Sharknado franchise without even knowing it. Also, when you die in this game, it cuts to like a little cutscene of your spaceship exploding, but that cutscene doesn't have anything to do with how you actually died in the game. So it's like cuts to, I guess, a completely different ship exploding. Oh, you died. Here's a video of someone else dying on some other part of this planet that has nothing to do with what happened to you. Enjoy. It's definitely a unique game, but because it's just not very comfortable to play, specifically to avoid enemy projectiles and to actually aim at enemy weak points, I don't like the gameplay at all. And in an on-rail shooter, the gameplay is the most important thing. So I would say this is a subpar game at best with a really unique feel. But is a game really worth it just for the feel of it? Like, that's what art is for, to look at pictures, to enjoy movies. Games, the main point of games is good gameplay, and this game just doesn't have it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more classic game reviews. Goodbye, my friends.